Welcome to the Transform Sales Podcast, where forward-thinking business leaders come to share their experiences and ideas, learn from each other, and amplify their results together.
Hey guys, Amir Reiter here with the Transform Sales Podcast. I got my guest CEO, Andres Vergara with Reprospect. Did I pronounce it correctly or did I butcher the last name? I've been in Latin America long enough.
Andres Vergara.
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 I need to practice Spanish, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate
exactly.
you being on the show. How's everything going?
All good. Thanks. Sorry for my English, but I will do my best effort.
Your English is perfect, man.
Okay, thank you for that.
You can outsell fluent English speakers, so that's the flex. It's not but it's great having you on the show. For those who are the first time listeners, we like to talk to CEOs of sales agencies and kind of just poke around, see what mistakes buyers have made when hiring, when working with, and those mistakes can turn into a lot of lost potential revenue and pipeline. So our plan here is that for anybody listening, if it's your first time ever researching the concept of outsourced sales or hiring an internal team or doing both, or you've done it before and it failed, the idea here is just to be transparent and listen to real life stories that Andres will share with you. But before we get into Andres, for those listening, who are you and how did you get into the business?
Yeah, well, I'm Andres. Hi, how are you? We got in the sales business, practically like building this prospecting as a service company. Mainly, Prospect is a spin-off of a Chilean company called Publimail that's been around the last 40 years in the Chilean market. And it was one of the first direct marketing companies in Chile. And
for those listening who aren't familiar with direct marketing, what is direct marketing?
It's marketing, like personalized marketing for B2C or B2B customers. And before the digital era, right? You got the sending letters with personalized names or surnames and to the like addresses.
So instead of digital email, physical email.
Exactly. And all the telephone calling, the telemarketing, etc., was like the main tools for direct marketing campaigns. So that was it. And in this company, like for the last 20 years, we used to do direct marketing campaigns. There were lots of companies that asked us to make the telemarketing campaigns for making prospection and to make appointment setting for their businesses, etc. And 4 years ago, when we started Prospect, it was mainly like looking at the market and seeing how the B2B market was getting every time a little bit more sophisticated, and the B2B buyer was also expecting a little bit more of the person that was behind the prospecting strategy, right? So we said, like, no more telemarketing. We need to sophisticate this, and we built We Prospect with a more consultative approach, so we could reach these B2B buyers in a more sophisticated way as well. And that's not only by telephone, but also using like digital channels that are available today, as email marketing, like LinkedIn, also with a telephone, right? But as a tactical tool, not as the main tool for prospection. And that's our point of view on the prospecting system, mainly because you have to build a conversation around with the prospect and get to feel and understand their needs, so you can get a better approach with them.
So for those listening, you were working with a direct marketing company that was based in Chile, in Latin America. been in the business for a long time, using more of the traditional methods. You then supported those traditional methods with more inbound HubSpot style B2B sales tactics, and they were so successful supporting that 40-year-old business model that you separated those newer tactics, made a productized service out of it, made We Prospect, and now are offering global companies the
Exactly.
same
Yeah.
same success formula that you got down packed, and then specifically for those listening, Andres operates all of these top notch practices in Latin America, globally as well, but also in Latin America, which tends to be a little bit further behind when it comes to the adoption of new strategies, which is also why one of the reasons why it probably works really well, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
um, it's until everybody's doing it, right? I think in Latin America, it's a big thing of outbound won't work. You can't, but it does, right? It's the
Yeah.
same way that Rappi basically just copied Uber Eats and made $1 billion company. Whatever works in America is going to work in Latin
Yeah.
America, right? And whoever
Exactly.
says differently is just lying to himself and
Yes.
doesn't look at history, right? So
Yes. Yes.
your good.
I think like I think here in Latin America, like we are a little bit like 5 years behind what is
Yeah,
happening in the U.S. markets, Canada, and Europe.
yeah.
Mainly in the most advanced countries as Chile, Colombia, Mexico, right?
It's like having a time machine, and it's awesome, right? Because it's like predicting the stock market, and people don't realize that, but I do, and I think it's great because
Yeah,
it's like you could be, it's great to be a leader and an innovator in the top Western markets, right? And if you got a world changing idea, like people do it, right? But if you
yeah,
don't, you literally have a time machine, and you could see what works and what doesn't, and execute it in Latin America 5, 10 years later, and it's gonna work because it's history repeats itself, right? Over and over and over again, right? The next big phase in Latin America, because it works really well in other regions, is going to be fintech transformation, right? And that's why you got Nikki and all these other companies, because they're copying the plays that Venmo and all these other companies
yeah,
did,
exactly.
and it's already proved out. But that's awesome. So for anybody listening to this is Latin American guys, like especially if you're a Latin American technology company, you probably are running a play that you saw in America. So if you say outbound doesn't work, but your company is basically mirroring something that works in the States, well, then you are not following your philosophy, right?
Exactly.
Because the
Yes.
same things that grew those companies, right, is the business development, sales development playbook, right, that Andres executes. But that's a good story because for me, I find comfort in that. I find a lot of comfort in knowing that a leader fixed the problem, did it really well, and packaged it, right? Because that's kind of who you want to buy from, right? Like it's like basically the same thing where like Mike Tyson was one of the best boxers, and now he's a boxing trainer. Now that's bad example because he might not be a good trainer, but like he's got the backing and he's done it before, right? So
Yeah.
like what
And
he's packaging up, right?
yeah, and another thing here, something that happens in Latin America, that in general markets are quite small, comparing it to the US. Like the US, it's a really really huge market where there's like participation or space for everyone, right? And what happens here is that when you build a business in Chile, for example, that it's 18, 20 million people country, right? You have to build your business around the idea that you have to reach all the region, all Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, just going like that, you're gonna get a market with the size of the U.S. market or the European countries, etc. So that's something in particular that happens here, and that makes it a little bit more difficult to have success. That's why our approach at We Prospect is with looking the region, like the more sophisticated countries in the region, so we can work with them as well
How
in
would you list
perspective.
that in sophistication if you had the top three? What are the top three most, um, I would say, leading Latin American countries in digital transformation and early adoption?
Yeah, Chile by far. I would say also Colombia and Mexico. And obviously, well, Argentina is it's really strong on
Close.
that,
It
but
gets, the race gets tight.
yeah, Argentina has like it's a very strong country, a very competitive country, but they have a little bit in the political situation. It's a little bit more complex.
They got a
So
wildfire of inflation.
yeah, exactly, and
Yeah,
also well,
yeah,
Brazil is a market itself, right?
yeah.
Another
Corruption.
language. They're a huge population.
They wanted to be different, huh? Let's be
Yeah,
Portuguese in
yeah,
Latin America.
yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting.
exactly. But it's a very
So,
nice country. I love it. So.
so for those listening, tell me about the mistakes that buyers make when they approach you
Mm.
in the buying process. Um, and then let's talk about that, and then the mistake they make when working with you, and we'll talk about that, and then kind of help the right buyer find you. What do you see as a repeating pattern from people that are booking times with you, that are meeting with you, where they're making a mistake in the sense that like their perception and their style, what they're trying to do,
Mm.
hurts the results. Not obviously a mistake that doesn't serve their interest. We want to focus on mistakes that serve their interest, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think like the main mistake there is thinking that the outbound sales process is the same as the inbound sales process, and I would say that's the main problem. When you start like looking into every inbound process and outbound process, you see that there's like huge differences. It's totally different, like the processes, like the interest that the buyer, the
So
prospect.
let's pause though. So let's pause, right? So like revenue's the same, right?
Yeah,
A closed deal is the same, but it's like if people want to visualize this, you could picture the Amazon River, right? It empties into a delta, right, in the ocean, right? That ocean is the bank, right? But before it gets into the part where it goes to the ocean, there's different streams that merge, right? And there's the inbound,
exactly.
the outbound stream, and the way they meander is a little bit different, right? So people understand the outcome, right? The revenue, they understand the customer, but they don't take the time to understand that a buyer that has need, that searches his need, I need a new kidney stone, might be able to go get a kidney. I might go try to get a kidney right away, where educating them that, hey, you want to be, when you need a kidney, it takes 2 years. You might want to start now, right? It's a different process, different timing, different messaging, different attitude, different energy, right? Where
Yeah,
somebody who's booking time with you inbound, you might be able to ask questions. Well, when are you ready to go? Who's on this project? What's the budget? Because they're asking you, right? But if you're
yeah,
asking someone for a meeting, you might say, what kind of impacts will this do to your business? How will this affect your downstream? And then flow into it versus asking the same questions. The guy's like, "What do you talk? What do you mean? Like, when is my budget? What is my? You called me and you asked me for a meeting,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So it's like it's a very little difference, right? It's a minute difference. It's not. It's not so different. It's just realizing, who's trying to get into your party and who's you invited to get into your party, right? Like someone's trying to get into your party, who you're with, who told you, great, right? If you invited someone to a party and they came down to your party and you locked them outside, they're going to be it's insulted. Versus, thank you for coming. I know you traveled far, right? A little difference, right?
yeah.
What's your plan, and how do you hope to educate people on the difference between inbound and outbound when we live in a world where people take a camp, right? It's like left, right, Republican, this, that, and they almost don't want to hear the other side, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do we get them to understand that it's all one thing, and how are you? What are you doing to help the buyer
Well,
get that?
these are complementary processes, or when marketing and sales get together, right? Like it's well, let's go through the inbound channel, let's go through the outbound sales process, etc. And everything needs like their dedicated teams or dedicated people, etc. So so what we're doing is that we're working like very strong on the like content creation
Yeah,
to educate like the B2B market, that the outbound sales processes are not the same as the inbound sales processes. How we see
yeah,
the outbound sales process is basically you go and try to pick some time with someone that is not looking for you, or someone that doesn't really know, that has the need
They don't know why
for.
you could help them, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they
The
don't know.
ultimate
So,
goal
so
of helping someone, everybody wants,
yeah,
but there's always going to be a guardedness to, can you help me? Exactly.
exactly. So all the process that you have to do, like behind initiating some outbound sales activities, it's much deeper than in outbound sales, because you have to get your you have to know the needs of the decision maker. You have to know the needs of the different industries that you're approaching. You have to see are the channels that they are using, because there are lots of companies that only use telephone, and they have SDRs making 200 calls per day. But is it really efficient? Is it really effective? Are you being a pain in the ass for like the B2B buyer or not? And mainly, if you're approaching someone that is not looking for you, you have to be like really intelligent on the approach. You have to build a playbook with different steps and with different channels, so you don't so you get like in a more soft way, or I don't know how to say
No, it makes sense to me,
pardon my
right?
English, but
I go back to the analogy of the river because I think it's the best example, right? Where you have inbound, it might be a little bit more clean in the sense that it's like Google SEO paid ads and bigger attributes mean to the river, right? And then we're outbound, there's just a lot more involved, a lot more smaller rivers coming together. It's the content and the awareness, it's the recommendations, the
yeah,
strategic crowd, it's the social proof, it's the right call at the right time, the right email at the right time. So the outcome can still be the same, but it might filter in a little different, right? Where
yeah,
three big sources here, it might be 15 little sources there. But if you take the time and the patience to really understand it, it makes logical sense, right? And
yeah,
a lot of people fail actually to put themselves into first person positions and say, as a buyer, how am I buying, right? How do I act when I know I got a problem? How do I act when I see something that showed me I have a problem, right?
yeah,
And if they think about it, they might be like, well, I saw the brand somewhere. Somebody liked my LinkedIn profile. I got an email. I got a call. I got an ebook I liked, right? And then they could say, oh, that's outbound. Oh, I actually receive outbound and I actually get it, right? That makes a lot of sense and that's super helpful.
like going
Talk.
go, going in your example of the river, like
You
I
like the
like
river example? Are you gonna use the river example? We
yeah,
should
I'm
make
going
a
to
river
use
diagram.
yeah, I'm going to use
Okay.
the river example, because I'm a fisherman. I like to do like
I got
practice.
you happy.
Yeah, yeah, I like to practice fly fishing. And the inbound would be like, I don't know, like throwing the fly in the river, right? And you
It's
in
like the
the
bear.
Amazon.
It's like the bear that
Yeah,
catches the salmon. The salmon just
yeah,
jumps in his
yeah.
mouth.
Exactly. That's exactly the same. But when you want to get the big fish, like the real
Shake the
opportunity,
water a little bit. Little
yeah,
vibrations.
you have to search for it, and
Yeah.
you can be an entire day in the river, getting to trying to get that big fish, and that big
Yeah,
fish is
you gotta
really
shake the right tree upstream. It drops those leaves, right? The fish get activate,
exactly,
bring them to the surface.
exactly,
Throw
exactly.
some flies in, some worms,
And that big
content.
fish, yeah, and that big
Mm.
fish is the trophy.
Yeah.
It's like the sales qualified lead in this case.
It's like the 85,000 users, $7.99 a month per user deal that can give you $30 million of valuation. That's the big fish
Yeah,
in the SaaS
that,
world,
that's the big fish, right? Exactly the
and they're
same.
out there.
Yeah,
They're out there. I think they're actually easier to target in Latin America now than in America. So I think it's a big
yeah,
opportunity.
of course.
Tell me about your best customer. Now I know for a fact that you can help a lot of people in a lot of places, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about the best, the guys that come to you and you're like, you want a big fish? Here's my trophy wall of big fishes I get. I'll get another big fish for you even bigger. Software or service? You got to pick one. Which are they?
Yeah, I would say service. In our case specifically, we've been working with softwares as
This is
well,
all your
but
case. I'm asking you.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, services.
It's tough to pick one.
Yeah, service. service,
Yeah, it's a little tough to pick one,
especially
right?
yeah, especially complex services with a target market that it's quite small, and where the buyer or my client knows the complexity of the prospection process, and that's where we feel like that we're really adding value to their
That's
sales
great.
process. Yeah,
And it makes sense because you said it. Latin America's small. You know the process. You know, so like it's like so now you have like you know the regions. You know the small groups of people, right? You've had the messaging. You know what works. So it's your advantage. Like and I get it, and it makes sense.
exactly.
And then they probably have a high average contract value, or when they get the customer, it's a bigger amount. They keep them for a long time, right? Um, it's interesting you said services, but I think I understand why. I think software is a little bit newer to Latin America, the enterprise, right? So I think that's going to be next, right? I think that's going to be a big thing.
Yeah,
Not
and
newer, but newer to like newer
yeah,
to have this crazy adoption curve, right?
yeah, and what happens here, like in the at least in Chile and I don't know, Colombia, Mexico, that softwares are built for like a massive volume, and you get to sell like different types of licenses that are quite cheap. So uh, like it results a little bit more effective or cheap to go
No,
and
I
build
got it.
like
Yeah, they're not ready. They're not ready. They don't. It's conversion rate, it's money, whatever it is. It's not. They're not just big deals. They're like these
yeah,
little deals that need much service. They need a lot of help, right? For like a $5,000 deal in Latin America, you could be as much service that a $1 million deal in America takes. That's just a matter of the adoption curve catching up.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Startup, Series B, publicly traded, global conglomerate controlled by the government. I think it's in Latin America too. What type of business is the best?
Glo- what we like is like global
The global
companies.
ones.
Yeah, global companies.
I like it.
We've had very good experiences with those type of companies in general. They
And by
have
good
a
experience, he doesn't mean like a good day hanging out. It means you make money for those companies.
yeah,
Like in this business, to have a good experience, you're making money for your client. Like you can call it
exactly.
out. Because if you're not making money for your client, you're not having a good experience, right?
Yeah,
Um,
it's been a good experience for us and for them.
yeah,
We get to have a good experience because like we work with a more mature buyer or a more
yeah.
mature client in terms of what they are expecting of us,
Uh-huh.
and also we have like the time for making good research and making a good process that sets more appointments for them, and then not talking about the quantity of the appointments that we generate, but about the quality, and that's our main point. Like if I had to say what's the main value of we prospect and what's our approach to prospecting, is like the assertiveness. It's like going to the target and not having lots of meetings, but few with a very good quality. And that's
I love that,
our,
and that's what people want.
yeah,
That's what people want.
exactly.
They want
But
quality.
yeah, but sometimes and asking for the like the mistakes our buyers make sometimes is that they come and they it's like I think I heard that your last podcast, this guy Kevin from Lydium,
Yes.
was talking about the same. He was talking like, "Hey, a client approaches me and he tells me like I want 30 meetings per month," and we ask like, "Why do you
Based
want?"
off what?
Yeah, based out
Yeah.
of what? Like, why? And that's the main question.
It's like what would you want? An hour and a half massage that's not a good massage, or like a 15-minute powerful massage that really fixes you up,
Exactly.
right?
That's it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, look, Andres, all of this is super helpful. I'm like, for me, I consider you a pioneer because I believe that of the agencies in our marketplace and globally, that LATAM is, one of the places that, as you mentioned, is 5, 10 years behind. So you're one of the OGs, the original gangsters in the business, and I think you are going to set the bar and set the pace for a lot of other agencies that will look at your content and look up to you and the way that you support your region in in growing because obviously a lot of these services and technologies that do hire you are pushing faster, cheaper, more efficient innovations, which trickles down to the communities and the people that serve them, right?
That's
For anybody
our
who,
that's our main objective. So
you know what it
we're-
says on my one of my Instagrams, my sales transformation, where I help sales freelancers in Latin America, 5 to 6 global. It says I have a new mission. My mission has changed. It's always changing, and I think it's aligned with your mission. That's why I'm showing it to you. Hold on. It says on a mission to generate $10 billion of wealth. I don't remember it for the expansion of underrepresented job seekers,
yeah,
right, in Latin America.
we're
And
quite
you're
quite
doing the same.
aligned. So in that objective. So
Well, that's also part of like the new world we live in. It's called there was a good book that's written by an awesome dude called the something state, the interstate something state. Hold on, it's going to be the internet state. Let's see what it was. Book. Network state. Network state. Network state. So there's a book called The Network State. I think. Let me see if I got it the right way. Network state book. Yeah, the network state. The network state is an awesome book talking about how like we're going to build new communities, right? Where it's like in the
yeah,
internet, where like now we as a community have hundreds of outsourced sales providers, thousands of sales agent freelancers that will eventually work for the sales agencies, right? And we're creating a community, right? That just brings innovation and can help each other right away. Where like even Andre, you who are contributing to the community, contributing to the marketplace, contributing to the content, you could also listen to a colleague of yours in a podcast like Kevin and align ideas and realize like, hey, you're
yeah.
Chilean, you were born in Las Vegas, but actually we're seeing the same things, right? And it's going to innovate fast. And it's awesome because I think communities are going to be the future. And that's why I feel very lucky to be part of the outsourced sales community and bring everybody together. Because for me, it's exciting learning and seeing all of you guys who are getting out there and educating the market. So for me, it's motivating to bring it all together because I think the faster we do this, the more the innovation happens quicker.
The more
And then we
the
can go
more
get
the
back.
merrier.
Yeah, and then we can get back to version 3 of the world,
Yeah.
which is the back to hunters and gatherers, where we start traveling around and exploring stuff, right, and
Yeah.
and having more fun with our lives.
I
Where can
I,
people find you?
I,
What's the
I
best?
I
Oh,
like
no, sorry.
to my last thing regarding what you were saying right now is like I like to see it as a we are making a shift on the paradigm of sales.
You got it.
That's how you say it in English. It's a
It is.
paradigma in Spanish, but we're making a shift on that, and we're
Yes.
trying to look. We're trying to for people to see the sales process as a process of adding value to the customer and not as pushiness like the cartoon of the salesman with the back like knocking doors, that no one wants to
I,
receive
I
them.
do I do know because the net effect is innovation, and it's like an industrial
Yeah,
revolution, right? Like the industrial revolution that started in the UK, Europe, right? Like now they're not doing so good, right? Like I think the next thing is a digital revolution that will set people free, and it's just portals, and it's just an awesome thing to see. It's amazing that I can get on a plane today and fly to see you in Chile, right? Like they let me in, I don't know the passport stuff. Um, and it's just like we live in just such a different world, and I think it's going to be different separations, and it's going to be nice to see what this revolution does to people. I think it's going to continue to improve people's lives
yeah,
in a positive way, right? To those
exactly.
who want to find you, want to connect with you, want to talk to you directly, of course, if they want to come to the marketplace, they can, but maybe they don't. Maybe they want to talk directly
Of
to you and,
course,
and tell them how they could find you, where they can connect with you.
we-prospect.com. We have a website in Spanish and English as well for US based companies that want to make prospecting in Latin America and want like a specialized partner here. And also in LinkedIn, we-prospect. And you can see like all the contents that we are adding each week in Spanish, but you can translate it. So
No, Andres, you're
um,
the man. This is not going to be the last time we speak. I know you're going to be presenting probably in our conference called Outbound. I want you. I'm going to
hopefully,
make.
hopefully.
No, you are. You're going to present and you're going to talk about high ticket service companies expanding and supporting direct marketing in Latam because that's your expertise, right?
Yeah.
That's your expertise because you know that
Exactly.
these companies are doing direct marketing.
Yeah.
So we got the winning formula. We're going to help them. Appreciate you being on the Transform Sales podcast. I appreciate everybody for listening, and I hope this is
Yeah.
helpful.
Thank
Always
you for
happy to
the
get
invite.
feedback. Dude, anytime, man. And I'll let you go, man. Have a good day. Take care.
Okay. Good day. Take care. Bye bye.